Good morning, Highland High School. We are so excited for the start of the new school year. We'd like to send a warm welcome out to our newest students, the class of 2024, and also those students who have transferred to our school. We know you're going to love it here at Highland High School. I am Mrs. Knapp. I am the building principal.
I'm Mr. Bacco. I'm the building assistant principal at Highland High School, and I'd also like to welcome you to the 2020-2021 school year. You can follow us at HHS main office, and you can follow the athletic department at Hornet Athletic. We have accounts on Instagram and Twitter. This is where you'll be getting all of your information this school year.
As you know, there are many changes to the school year. We want to make sure that you are aware of all of these changes before you come back to the building. So all week, we will be releasing videos on various topics. Please note the schedule.
This first video will encompass maps of the building, which will be a little bit different this year, personal protective equipment, and how we will be cleaning each classroom each day. We will also discuss our Class of the Year awards and how those may be different this year from years past.
As Mr. Bacco mentioned, we will talk about many of those time-honored traditions that Highland High School students have come to expect. One such tradition is our annual theme. This year's theme, drum roll please, be about it.
What am I supposed to be about, Mrs. Knapp?
Glad you asked, Mr. Bacco. Mr. Bacco and I worked pre-pandemic with the Principal's Advisory Committee and came up with the words that should define students at HHS. These are words we should simply be about.
These words we'll be covering throughout the year and talking about how we will use them every day at HHS. Words like resilient, unwavering, gracious, respectful, and compassionate should describe how all of us act on a daily basis here at HHS and when we leave the building. We will find many ways to celebrate our theme throughout the year, such as swarm forms and swarm parking, but one way we're going to start off by being about it this year is to have our school supplies. Mrs. Knapp had sent out a school supplies list, which also can be found on the school website. The following are suggested school supplies that students will need this year.
We know you all have questions about your school schedule, and right now those are available in Power Schools. However, they are subject to change. We are still working to balance class sizes, so many of you will be moved as we approach the start of the school year. Right now, ALL and lunch are not included on that schedule. That will be added in upcoming days. Please know that there will be no changes to student schedules as we start the year, unless the student is missing a required course for graduation or there is an error on the schedule. As an example, you're missing an English class, you're missing a science class, then we will make that change. However, because of this unique year, we will be unable to move a lot of schedules around as we start the school year. So we appreciate your cooperation with that. For some of our newest students, we would like to include in this first video a building map. We will be sending maps out in the upcoming videos with the directional the paths of our hallways, but really wanted to familiarize you with the maps as they are now. So this first map is of our lower level, and those are classrooms that begin with 1. So I'm going to take you from the bus drop off there. So if you ride the bus to school, you'll be dropped off where that arrow is. This year you will be walking upstairs to get to the academic part of the building. But please note that the media center is on that lower level, followed by our B wing and then our C wing. B and C are on both levels, upper and lower. Classrooms that begin with 1 will be found on the lower level. Note the next map is the upper level. I want you to go back to B and C on the map. Again, the B and the C wing are the academic areas, but those classrooms will begin with a 2. So if you have a class like B225, you'll be in the B wing, upper level, and you need to find room 225. If you have B125, it would be the B wing in the lower level. Again, if you look at the map, the front entrance is where you would be dropped off if you were a car rider, or if you are a student driver, that's where you will park. Walk by the main office, the counseling office, and again, the B and C wing. There are also D classrooms. The D classrooms, that is the hallway between the B and C. So your D classrooms are on the way to those academic halls. Note the music wing near the Hornet, and then the athletic wing on the bottom. Again, we'll be sending out directional maps later on in the week, but we did want to have a map that just shows where the classrooms are at this time.
As you return to school this year, we ask that you be very mindful of your health and well-being. One way that you can do this is by completing a symptom checklist at home. The symptom checklist can be found on our Highland Local Schools Reopening Plan.
We will be sending a copy of the PowerPoint home to all of our students via email. So again, the symptom checklist will be linked into the presentation when your student receives the presentation at the end of the week.
Symptoms that you should be looking for each day include fever, cough, shortness of breath. If you have any of these symptoms, we ask that you please stay home for that day. Attendance procedures will be the same as always, calling into the attendance office and having a parent leave a message there. If you become ill at school this year, we ask that you report directly to the clinic in the main office. Students with COVID symptoms, these may include, again, shortness of breath, fever, as well as cough, will be isolated in the clinic. Students who may have something happen like a twisted ankle in gym class will be allowed to sit out in the main office area, and we will attend to them as needed.
Mr. Bacco, one important point: when a student feels ill at school, we just need to remind students that they are not to report to the restroom. That can pose a safety hazard if the student were to pass out. So we would ask that students who feel ill report directly to the clinic. There are restrooms available in the clinic for students who are not feeling well to use.
As always, if you become ill in a classroom or feel ill, you should report that to your teacher, and they will allow the main office to know that you are coming down to see them. Other things that may have changed this year include PPE, which is personal protective equipment, and we are requiring that all students wear a mask at all times in our building. The exception would be outside or at lunch when you are eating. Just like when you're at home, we're also asking that you wash your hands frequently throughout the day, and we will provide times for you to do this. We also need students to be very mindful of their own areas, both when eating at lunch and as well in their classrooms. You may be asked to clean up your area at lunch or in a classroom, especially if you're in a classroom like a science classroom where a lab is taking place and you may be touching materials on that desk.
Thank you. And our final thought today really centers around the idea of those time-honored traditions, those high school experiences that we come to expect just as a high school community. Please know that there are still things we will do, such as the Highland High School Class of the Year. We've always had fun with how we roll out Class of the Year and the competitions as we go through the calendar here. So those will continue. There are opportunities that are obvious opportunities that we will be able to continue with, like the canned food drive or winter door decorating. But there are some rites of passages that are associated with high school that we need to find ways to hold differently under the circumstances. So what I'm asking is that you have an idea about how to hold some of these important events. If you have an idea, even if it's very non-traditional, let us know. We're happy to work with students. We will be working with our student groups. Mr. Bacco has a student group. I have a student group. Our senior class advisor, Mrs. Miller, will be working with leadership, and our student council will be working on different ideas and different ways that we can continue to offer experiences to our students, even if it looks a little bit different this year. So really, if you have a thought or an idea, email us, stop in and see us, and let us know what that thought is, because really we want to try and capture everything that school is about when students come here.
We know this year is going to be different, but we want you guys to have the best possible experience you can have this year, and we are committed to doing everything we can to make that happen. If that means doing things differently, that's exactly what we're going to do.
Because that, my friends, is resiliency, right?
Yeah, that's one.
Be about it. That will end our first day of video. So that was a general welcome for you. Tomorrow we're going to get into some specifics on hallways, arrival, dismissal, and we'll have some actual video footage of how we go through the building. So we look forward to seeing you all tomorrow. Have a great afternoon.